Hi, I'm so happy to finally be here. Thank you for welcoming me into your community. Today, I'm here to help and inspire you to convince the administrators and the managers in your organization that still haven't understood how essential macOS is for your organization's success. My name is Simon, and I work as Digital Workplace Architect at Telia Cygate, and my goal is always to ensure that users are happy by eliminating disturbance. I'm a Microsoft MVP, that's Most Valuable Professional, within Enterprise Mobility, a Microsoft certified trainer, and this is the third time I've been invited to speak at JNUC. I live outside of Linköping, Sweden, 2 hours out of Stockholm. The city is best known for its chocolate factory and for its fighter jet factory. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or listen to the podcast Knee Deep in Tech. Also ensure to catch my virtual Jamf Pro and Microsoft Intune session, that's 1118, which is the deep dive into conditional access. But for now, let's get going. This might be the expression you get when you, for the 100th time, ask administrators, managers, or stakeholders in your organization to allow a free choice of devices within your organization. I know, I've often had this expression when I have received that question as a consultant. You will often get a number of reasons why this is not possible. macOS and Apple devices are expensive. And what if everybody wants a Mac? How do you think we should afford that? They do not follow the security policy. And they are impossible to manage. And then lastly, the most important reason why you should not use macOS within an organization. You only really want them because you like the looks of them. You want to impress on your friends and colleagues. You can't possibly be more productive on a Mac than you are on a Windows PC. But you that are looking at this, you already know this. And you're probably here out of one of two reasons. First, either you're here as a representative for an organization that have already embraced macOS as a first-class device platform, and you are mostly here to confirm that you did the right thing. Or you're one of those admins that have met the old me or someone like the old me, and you want to get new perspectives and arguments to support your case for the next time you meet that manager. First, today, we will start by looking at the workplace of today and why macOS is essential for the success of that workplace. We'll then continue with myth busting to give you arguments and stories from the field to tell back to your grumpy managers. And finally, I will share the best steps towards fully embracing macOS within your organization. And in this session, you will learn how to explain the role of macOS in the workplace. You will also bust the myths that many still believe in regards to Apple within large organizations, and small for that matter. And you will understand how successfully implement macOS in your organization. So let's begin with what we are expected to deliver as an IT organization responsible for the digital workplace experience today. First, the workplace needs to be flexible, not just in terms of where and when we work. Our users have called our long living bluff. When the pandemic hit us and the organizations reacted to it, many solutions that enable a true flexible work style were introduced. What we as admins didn't realize were that many of these tools worked very well cross-platform, whether it's SaaS applications, VPN clients, or virtualization solutions. So almost by mistake, we took a step towards the workplace that many users have been asking us for years. Our users also expect service and manageability. And when we started to work somewhere else, managers feared, and are still fearing, that their employees would be less productive when working from home. That is not the case, rather the opposite, where a lot of people work longer hours than before and are minimizing breaks. What did, however, at least in the beginning, impact productivity were the lack of proper management and service capabilities when users work somewhere else than in the office or connected to the network. This is something that must be expected regardless of platform, but we will get back to this shortly. These two and a few other trends are clear examples of how SLAs are moving toward XLAs. IT in general will from now on be measured on what always have mattered, how good we are at keeping the users that we are here to serve happy, productive, and secure. It does not matter if we have 99% uptime on the firewall or reach 100% patch compliance, if that is done in a way that negatively impacts the user experience of IT services that we are providing. So, where does macOS and Jamf fit into this? Let's start from the beginning. In a survey performed by Vason Bourne, contracted by Jamf and Apple in 2019, or as we say, year one before the pandemic, 94% agree that they are more likely to choose or stay at a company which offer them a choice in work computer or mobile device. 79% agree that they could not do their job as effectively without being able to use a Mac. And 74% of those who previously used a PC for work experienced fewer issues now when they were using a Mac. So presented with this information, and yes, it's backed up by less biased sources, how can management and or IT not get that this is kind of important? Hold that thought until we start busting myths. As an employee of today, we expect a similar level of service wherever we are and when we need it. That includes IT support, replacement and delivery of hardware, configuration, application deployment, hardening. We also expect to receive this regardless of which device we choose. If we have a choose your own device or bring your own device policy set up, which you all should have, that is kind of why you're here. So we expect everything to be equal, regardless of where we are and which device we use. And in 2017, that was the year when Google and Microsoft introduced their zero-touch provisioning service in Android and Samsung Zero Touch and Windows Autopilot. And at the same time, the oldest mention I've seen of Apple DEP is 2015. And to be frank, I wish Autopilot were as good as that. So this also goes for the mice management. Microsoft have always been very good at managing devices within a network, and especially Windows devices. I'm a Microsoft Intune MVP after all, but it's only within the last years or so where they have been to be able to do that outside of the internal network and at scale, with the same level of service as within. And this has always been in Apple's and Jamf's DNA. So we can deliver that kind of service wherever we are. So for you that are watching this and listening to this, what is XLA and what is SLA? How will this impact your job? And why is it important from a macOS perspective? Think of the best dining experience you've ever had. Just take 2 seconds and remember the taste, the smell, the excellent service. I do bet that you do not remember a single thing that were bad with that visit, or it wouldn't have been the best experience. I'm also certain that you have eaten food as good, or possibly even better, at other occasions, but where something have just felt a little bit off. Remember this? I'm more than happy to talk about all of my views on this. They are not all positive, but that is not the point of me showing you this. What IBM did here, together with Jamf and Apple, were to think of that entire experience. They did not just focus on putting the right hardware in the hands of their users and push them out the door. They did something that I encourage all of my customers to do, regardless if they're on Windows or macOS or Chrome OS or a mix of them or whatever it might be. They did dare to rethink and created an optimal workplace, leaving all of the legacy behind. That made the hardware, the software, and the service experience to add up to a fantastic result. That is XLA, not measuring for a user useless metrics. It's about the entire picture. With that, you have 3 building blocks of an appreciated digital workplace in 2022 and for the future. We now know that the data is on our side, that we have real-world examples that proves it, and that macOS were built for the workplace of the present and for the future. And still, we need to have this session. So time for some myth busting. I do think this sums it up, and this quote is originally from Dungeon Master, popularized by Adam Savage of Mythbusters, and it's one of my favorite quotes ever. So I do think that this is the case for many Windows administrators and managers out there, and it's not intentional. It is because we are humans and we have a hard time changing our minds and understanding that our experience that might very well be 100% and valid might not reflect the reality and the opportunities of today. We have to choose the red pill or the blue pill to either stay where we are today or try something new, realize reality. So let's bust these myths before we head into how to actually make this work in real life. So I will now have a few commonly heard quotes, and before I fill in the blanks, have a quick think of what it can be in the mind of a stubborn IT manager or administrator or the 2017 version of me. Apple computers are expensive, common myth. They might be compared to a PC with the same specifications, and now we're back to those SLAs that do not matter. It is like comparing a Formula One or IndyCar or NASCAR, take your pick, to an SUV with the same amount of horsepower. If you want to go fast, you need to look at the bigger picture and the longer lifespan. Break free from those ridiculous 3-year finance agreements, and that goes for all hardware, not just Apple. And you will be doing yourself, the budget, and the environment a favor. A lot of people also see that an Apple device is just an accessory. I've met people that do take pride in showing the device they work on. I do that myself. But I have never ever met a person that only wants a Mac because of it being a good-looking device or to impress on friends and family. I'm sure there are such people, but I doubt that they are the same individuals that are arguing with a manager or being able to choose a device freely. macOS is an fill-in-the-blank operating system. I don't know how many times I've heard this. macOS is an insecure operating system. It is not. I would not say that it's neither more or less secure than Windows or any other operating system for that matter. But what will ruin both security and the user experience is trying to secure macOS in the same way as you secure Windows. That simply won't work, in my opinion. macOS can also be an unmanageable operating system in some people's eyes. And well, this is JNUC. We know that with the proper tooling, macOS is as manageable as any other operating system built for larger or more complex environments. With the wrong tooling or lack of training or by not having access to devices that you can learn from, then it is hard. Apple solutions are not fill-in-the-blank ready. Enterprise ready, I've heard saying a lot of times. That's not true, but, and now some of you might get angry with me, we need to understand the difference between Apple and Microsoft as an example. Apple is, in my opinion, a consumer or even a user-first company, while Microsoft is an enterprise-first company. But it's different mindsets, different experiences, and different people that have influenced each company's journey and development over many years. They, of course, both have great offerings for anyone and everybody, but the way they see an enterprise setting for their hardware, software, and services are very different. So, how to embrace macOS within an organization? First, do not sacrifice Windows. Do not become the person you have argued with. There are a lot of people that feel the same way for Windows as many of you do for macOS. A free choice of device and operating system needs to go both, or at least more than one way. I do, however, encourage you to challenge your colleagues to see who can build the most appreciated platform so that the choice can really be free and on equal terms. And this is possibly the most important takeaway from this session. If, and yes, you should, if you embrace macOS within your organization, you need to do it on equal terms. It is not necessarily so that everyone in your organization should have a free choice, but for the ones that are given it, they should not choose Windows because they are left in the dark if they choose a Mac. Don't fall in the trap of managing macOS the same way and with the same policies that you do manage Windows. macOS and Windows are like comparing apples and pears in many ways. I find that in many organizations, a lot of the users have chosen a Mac to get away from a badly managed Windows platform. It's been turned into a horror story by the administrators. In other, and even in the same organizations, I also do find Mac users opting for Linux instead, since their Macs were managed in an equally horrific way. Fourth, and it's very rare that I do more than 3 takeaways, but in this case, I have to make it a 5 takeaway. When embracing macOS, ensure to embrace the entire ecosystem and ensure that it all works with macOS. And no, don't fall into the other trap and think that you can give users a Mac and then force them to work with a Windows VM. That is not what anyone wants, or very few at least. Remember that dinner. If you only give your users great food but terrible service, it won't matter. Having Mac in an organization is much bigger than the hardware and the operating systems. Lastly, show your organization the data. Show them the references. Hey, show them this session. Do not only target IT. Make this question an important one for your entire organization, but do not leave IT out of it. Do also be humble before the fact that research from Apple, Jamf, and others might be seen as biased, but it does not say that it isn't true. With that, it's time to wrap this up. You now know how and why macOS, and Apple in general, plays a key role in the workplace today and in the future. It is here to stay, and there are good reasons for them to do so. By looking at the actual value it brings and back it up with data, there are no reasons not to go for it. There are plenty of myths around macOS and Apple. And who knows, some of these might very well have been true a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. The important step to take here is to come with solutions, and JNUC is the perfect place to find such, that are also backed up by people just like you and me who have made this journey, and show that whatever the story once taught you, were just that, a story. To succeed with macOS in an organization, most of it isn't technical. It is much harder than that. It's about changing the culture, busting myths, and to put attention on the bigger picture and all the processes and structures that create a great place to work. It is about focusing on the user experience, about being part, not the center, of a digital workplace in the world we live in today. And it's about empowering people to be happy at work. In the end, it's not about you. It's not about choosing an operating system and a certain piece of hardware. It is not about changing the way you work or get back on that grumpy administrator. It is about creating the best possible workplace experience for your users, and macOS is certainly part of it. It might sound odd, and it might sound bombastic and visionary, but I do think, no, I'm convinced that this change to finally, for real, embrace macOS within organizations is a key to the organization's success, and an essential part of achieving our purpose as IT administrators, decision makers, and influencers, to make users happy by eliminating disturbance. Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to ask questions, and please reach out to me if you have any questions after this event. Thank you.